Good evening. The Rancho Public School Board of Education meeting for Monday, October 24th, 2022 is now called to order. If all would please arise for the Pledge of Allegiance, Board Member Gary Tripp will lead us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kim did not put the foundation on. Just allow extra time to public comment.
All right. Lori, can you take a roll call for us?
President Galbraith,
Present.
Vice President Morgan,
present.
Secretary Scott,
Present.
Board Member Tripp,
Present.
Board Member Tyler.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum tonight. Thank you so much, Lori. You will hear, if you hear the voice that's coming over, that's Board Member Tyler, who's joining us virtually tonight. So we're excited to have her. So welcome, Jessica. We'd like to welcome everyone out tonight. We have so many fun and wonderful friends of our district tonight in the audience, and we are just so happy to have you all here tonight. So just a warm welcome to you. In a few minutes, we will have our recognition for our Hall of Honors, and so we just want to recognize them out there. We're so grateful to have you and your family and your friends here with us tonight. To get us started, we're going to go ahead to approve our prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations. We have a motion.
I move to approve the prioritized agenda and time allocations.
It's Board Member Jeff Morgan, a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Noreen Scott and a second by Jeff Morgan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, so we'll now move to our commendations. Our first is for our Golden Apple Excellence in Teaching Award. Cynthia Rodriguez, a math teacher. We welcome her to come up from Rio Rancho Middle School. We have Andrew Pierce, principal of Rio Rancho Middle School, and Carl Leppelman, our chief academic officer, who will be presenting.
President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland, this is quite an honor this evening. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Thank you. The Golden Apple Award is a distinguished award. I think we've had one or two other teachers in our district over the course of the 28 years. It is an award that recognizes math instructors that have demonstrated distinction in their work as well as the teaching and learning. Tonight we have Cynthia Rodriguez here, a math teacher from Rio Rancho Middle School, and Andy Pierce, who would like to say a few words about Mrs. Rodriguez.
Good evening, everybody. I am so excited to present Cynthia Rodriguez to you. I had the blessing of actually teaching math with Cynthia as a colleague, and I just want to speak to her dedication and her inspiration. I can personally say she made me a better math teacher, and I was blessed to work with her. But also seeing the impact and her devotion to students is unmatched. And I was telling her and Dr. Cleveland prior that it's nice to see someone who works so hard be acknowledged, and it hasn't gotten covered up by anything negative. She's been a trooper for us, and she is a warrior for every single student, always getting them ready for life, not just math, but she takes great pride in their success in high school, and they always come back to see her. So this is a celebration of a friend, colleague, and I'm just blessed she's at our school. Thank you.
Hi, I want to thank the district for everything they've done. I haven't worked for any other district because I would never want to, but I was lucky enough to work over at Lincoln with Linda Kitts, and then she actually persuaded me, along with Andy Pierce, to come over to Rio Rancho, which I couldn't be happier. Everybody asks, are you going to be ready to retire? I don't think I ever would. I love doing what I'm doing. I love my students. I was lucky enough to teach the same group for 2 years, which was awesome. And I just want to thank everybody for being so supportive to me, because I wouldn't have grown the way that I have without all the love and support from my family, but especially my colleagues. Like Mr. Pierce actually inspired me, which is funny he said that, when we taught one summer together. So I just want to thank everybody for everything that you help the students do. We really wouldn't be where we are without such a wonderful district.
Thank you. Thank you. And then before you all sit down, I'd like to give Dr. Cleveland a moment. Do you want to?
Yeah, this is just an incredible recognition. That if you don't know what the Golden Apple is, it's kind of the Academy Award. It is a really prestigious award for teachers in our state and very competitive. And, you have to really do a good job to become a Golden Apple Fellow. And so you get some really nice things, though, as part of the fellowship. You want to share just a little bit kind of what you see out of the Golden Apple Award, what opportunities it creates for you.
Yeah, one of the big and most important things is that you get a $4,000 stipend that you can use for professional development, which I've been wanting to get graphing calculator training and different kind of training. So they pay for that. They give you a $1,500 stipend for whatever you would like. And you get to go to all of their trainings for free. And you actually get to go and help train other teachers during the summer too. You can become a mentor and work towards making the teaching profession more wonderful. So.
Okay, great. So again, congratulations. It's just such an honor. And we are so lucky to have you in our district. And if you've ever visited her classroom, it is a pretty magical place. And it's just, she does a fabulous job. So congratulations. And we just couldn't be prouder for you. So thanks. And we have a small gift for you.
And they also surprised me and scared me half to death, I might add, when they came into my class with it. So, I was teaching, and we actually had just talked about, the kids were asking, did you win? I'm like, I don't know whether I won or not. Life goes on, we'll still keep going. And then the door opened and there were about 20 people with their phone cameras. And it like I dropped everything I was doing and the whole class was like, oh, and I'm teaching that same group too. So they're very excited about it.
Oh, good, good.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that'd have been nice.
I was scared and it was dressed like a student day. So I felt even worse that she came in, and even my husband was like, oh, I hope she's not looking at me. Because my husband actually won the award too a couple years ago.
Wow, fun.
Wow, okay.
On behalf of the district, we want to present this.
Our education power
Thank
couple.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. And
Thank you.
it's just a wonderful recognition. Okay.
I have to say, I came in tonight and I have all of this wonderful things on my desk that I've, and so I'm excited
Wow.
to keep handing these things out. And so then I can see over the top, but we'll go on to our next commendation for the evening. So I'm going to ask Dr. Cleveland to help me with this as we go through. We are going to do our recognition for our 2022 Hall of Honor inductees. And so can I give you a moment to go over some of those? Is that okay? Or do you want me to?
Well, we can
to go
start. What we thought we would try to do is show the videos again. I would like everyone to know that we had a very nice event in June, but it was at a somewhat limited venue. And so we were hoping that we could do this here and maybe include more people. And but I also think it's really nice to see the plaques actually mounted on the Hall of Honor wall. And so we're going to go out in a few minutes and we're going to look at that. We also have a smaller plaque so that in addition to the big one that goes on the wall, each honoree will have at least something small and personal to receive as well. So we're hoping that we could show the videos again. They're short, and then award the plaques. So We're going to try our best. All right.
I messed it up the first time. I'm not going to do it this time.
We'll get Claudia a second to do that. I do want to just mention that each of these individuals tonight who we have here, and it was so wonderful to be at the dinner with them the other night, but they have just been individuals who have been outstanding in helping our district through all sorts of different services that they've given to us, whether it's through substitute teaching or sponsorships for all of our different clubs that we have, or working on the board, or there's so many different things that they've done to help us over the years. And so I believe, did we just close we're looking right now, we have, we're looking for this year's nominations right now for our next recognition of our Hall of Honor. So I don't think that's closed yet. Has that closed down
I
yet?
don't think it is. And Danny Harper is here. And Danny's the one that kind of coordinates that committee. And I think it is still open, Danny, is it not?
Till November
Okay.
1st.
Okay.
So,
And we really do solicit nominations from within the district, but also from the community. And both are really important that we identify people who've really made a difference in our district. So there's still a chance to submit a nominee.
How are we, Claudia?
He's working on it's the audio system.
Okay.
That's not working.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for this,
Why don't we go ahead and do the plaques and then we'll do so anyway, you want to call them up when okay, why don't the 4 honorees come up and we will give you the plaques, and then we hope that we have the videos working. Yeah, the whole board should go down. Yeah. One of the things that I'm learning is that videos are a challenge. And,
How do I hear?
all right. Why don't you give them and I'll say if that's all right.
Okay, so is this microphone working? Okay, so for our first one, we have Teresa Trigosis. So.
There aren't enough words to say thank you, Brett.
All right, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because we have some of it in the video, but Teresa came to work for us in the second year of the school district. And for several years, she helped us with, she was in charge of our transportation contract. And those were good years. We had more buses, and her wonderful personality kept our drivers here. And it was a different time, but a very challenging time. And then she went to kind of a second job for us, and that she became our lobbyist to work with the folks in Santa Fe. And everyone in Santa Fe knew Teresa. I mean, everyone did. And she just presented such a positive image for our district. And we were really grateful for the time she gave in Santa Fe, and helped us through some really major legislation that benefited our school district. So we thank Teresa for her many years of service, and she certainly is fondly remembered in the Rio Rancho district. All of you, always a part of our school family.
So our next one is John Harvey Smith. So.
Mr. Smith is the most inspiring substitute teacher we have. We've had plenty, but none quite of his caliber. He will be 100 in April. And yeah, it's wonderful. And Mr. Smith, you know, it's only been a couple of years since he's not been teaching. I mean, it's not been very long. And we had, over the years, my boys had him as a substitute. But I think one of the really memorable things is one of our valedictorians from Rio Rancho High picked him for the person that had inspired him the most. And we have something that Chalmers Ford does every year called the Crimson Dinner. And those graduates, our top graduates, pick an individual that just inspired them to do better. And so certainly it was a real honor for one of our valedictorians to recognize Mr. Smith as the person that had motivated him. And he worked in the top levels of our government all over the world and had a very distinguished career. And when he came back, he said he just wasn't ready to quit. He put on a suit and he went to work every day, and our students benefited from that. So, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for your years of service.
Our next is Tony Otero.
And Tony has just been a mainstay at Rio Rancho High School. I don't know that we've ever had anyone volunteer that gave as much to that school. And he gave it to athletics, but he gave it to academics. He just simply was always someone who would give to the students and the staff. And you know, I don't remember a game you weren't there, but I was there. But it was just a tremendous heart. And in addition, he's a local business owner. He owns the Dairy Queen here. And as over the years, many of our students got their start in life, their working opportunity to begin working with Tony. And so he is just so respected in our community. Did a basketball tournament for many years, and I don't know that anyone has worked harder as a volunteer. And we really don't think of you as a volunteer. We think you as part of our school district. So congratulations.
And our last one that we have is Ronaldo Garcia.
Ronaldo was our very earliest boards. And as I share with the board, when we're going through policies, it's a challenge. But what if you had to create every one from scratch? And that's what they did. And so they built the whole foundation for our policies in this district, but also played a key role as we made the agreement with Intel to build Rio Rancho High, which has had a lasting impact on this community. A wonderful board member, always had good questions, always asked the kind of questions that we really needed to think about. And one of the things that's really special about Ronaldo is that he stayed with this district and off and on over the years, didn't just do the service and walk away. And one time we needed an emergency board member, and he came back and he served a second term because Senator Brandt was not able to finish out his term. But I just want to thank him, and also certainly Hope, his wife, who have been part of committees, who have worked with us on dual enrollment, worked with us and when it was UNM West. It's just made an impact over a really long period of time. And then the last thing I think I would say, that for those of us who are educators, he was a wonderful teacher. And students who had him always talked about, and one of my boys had him for math, what an outstanding math teacher he was. And so a very fine educator, and we appreciate all that you have done so much. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna keep working on the speakers and the thing, and we're gonna take a break if that's okay. And go out and have cake and let everybody visit a little bit. Everyone, please come out and have cake. We're gonna celebrate a little bit, and then we're hoping we'll get these videos.
Yeah, so please take a
So-
chance if you want to say congratulations to our wonderful people. Well, right out in the foyer, there's cake, and we can see on the wall, we can see the flag. Meeting back to order. Thank you so much. I believe that our videos are working, and so we're going to watch those videos until we and then we'll carry on with our meeting. So I'll hand it over to Claudia.
Back to order. Thank you so much. I believe that.
There's me talking. I feel like I'm going back in time right now.
I'm just gonna stay away from the
You turn it off?
Don't talk.
He's such a wonderful person. He's got such amazing, lovely, such a good attitude, smiling all the time.
He's very personal and respectful individual. That's to all staff, students, front office staff as well.
He was a superlative sub for us for those history classes. And teachers always knew that they wanted to request John because he would do a great job with their class. And he is so genuine and such the real thing that students immediately pick up on that.
He was in demand by many, many teachers, primarily because he would get the lesson plan done and then he'd tell kids a story. That was his motivation to get the kids to do the task at hand.
He just loved the kids and helping the kids. And he just loved being a part of that educational process.
And it's just that love of education and supporting the notion of helping our students to be the best that they can always be. And it made him an outstanding sub and an outstanding human.
He was in the military during World War II, and he told lots of interesting stories to kids.
He loved being around the students, the generation they were young. And I think he felt like we had something to teach them with his many stories that he had about World War II. Amazing stories, by the way.
John was really quite inspirational for students, and the students would talk about that.
And they would give him stories about, you know what, you inspired me. You inspired me to be the best. You inspired me to be better.
For John, I believe this is really about having an impact on the next generation. He is a believer in education, and he has spent his own life being quite dedicated to education. And so it's the love of learning, the sharing of knowledge, and the shepherding the next generation. I think those are the things that inspire John.
He led to be a part of the Rancho Public Schools. He said, yeah, he's John Smith. Can you believe it? It really is John Smith. And he said, oh, I kind of wondered if maybe that was an alias.
For a lifetime of educating others, a lifetime of supporting others. I think his military service alone genuinely makes him an American hero that we have been lucky enough to share some time with. And I think that he has dedicated himself to meeting the needs of the students that he has met through our district. We are sitting in the presence of a genuine American hero when we meet John Smith.
Ronaldo Garcia was on the school board with me. He was a person, again, of great integrity and a strong moral compass. That's the two elements that I remember most certain.
Got a great personality. And also there's a lot of reading and current issues and so forth, and very interested in the community and having served on the school board. And he just, he's also president of our Rotary Club, and he's always interested in doing the right thing.
He was really thoughtful. So when the recommendation came from the city of Cleveland or myself, we always ask the question, well, what is it going to do to help students, and what's the return on investment? I mean, that's his kind of thinking. And is this the best use of our money? And so he asked really tough questions, legitimate questions in a positive way, and we needed to answer them. If we couldn't answer them, then he would say, well, come back and I'll vote. But I do think he had high standards.
one learns of Governor Noble fairly early in a friendship with him is that he was one of the children who came from Cuba many years ago, and he talks about that story and what it meant to him in his life. And he's got some great stories about that. But I think he values education so much more because of that experience.
I just was honored to work with on a number of projects. He helped our department, the construction department, but he most of all helped the classroom. Right, to create, elect, magic wand, the perfect ideal school board from all the people that have served on the board over the years. He would be one of those people that would put on that board. Very thoughtful and wise person. To us.
I had the opportunity to work with Teresa for 20 years because I also had the opportunity to be in the New Mexico State Senate during that time. And she was a vital player the entire 20 years. And the thing about Teresa is she leads with love. Her smile, her enthusiasm is infectious and it's palpable. And so that's what I love the most about her.
She helped start our district, and she was very instrumental in making this a fabulous school district. She was the executive director of transportation, which is this monumentous job, and she did it so well with such grace. She's one of those people who can immediately make someone feel like that they are listened to, that they are respected, that they are understood, and that somebody cares.
Anybody's put their heart and soul into this district. Now, there are a number of others I've mentioned, but she was one. She was dedicated as well to the district.
Her first priority was to our students and our families. Our district really is what it is today, and because of Teresa's size.
She cared enough to be informed. And you could go to Teresa and ask her any piece of data about the Rancho community or school district, and if she didn't know, she would find out. She really cared about the community, and I think that's part of caring, is being well armed with data.
She got along with everybody, both sides of the aisle, with the staff, with the legislators, with everybody. And they really respected her and respected her opinion. And an outgrowth of that, of course, was that they respected what we as a school district had to say and were able to bring to the table.
The thing that I recall about Teresa fondly is that she just made the work fun. She was joyful, she was always positive, and she was just a wonderful person to work with and be a friend.
Her contributions were enormous in building the district's credibility, not only in Santa Fe, but also in Rio Rancho, and their credibility with this community.
And she has been a ferocious advocate for this community and for this district, and for that, all of New Mexico owes her a great debt of gratitude.
Mayor Carroll, longtime business owner in Rio Rancho, started the Dairy Queen on Southern in the year 2000. He's one of the first, if not the only, Rio Rancho guy that hires high school kids, gets them often their first jobs, which is pretty cool.
Tony is probably the most selfless person I've ever met. He just stands out above other supporters because he's just so friendly, outgoing, personable, and he just truly cares about it.
I think he thrives because of all the good he does for others. And he's just someone we should all aspire to be like.
And Tony goes above and beyond for the community. He sponsors a lot of activities at the high schools. In fact, one of my longtime halftime treats for Rio Rancho football games is having a dilly bar at halftime.
I would say, oh, Tony, I need 100 dilly bars. And he was all for supporting all teachers, all educators, because he knows how important it is to keep educators happy, retain them in Rio Rancho because he knows the effect that they have on our students and their futures.
You never got the sense that he's doing it in order to get something back. It was always, he was giving. And maintained that and still maintains that all these years later.
Tony just stands out because again, he just is so selfless. He cares about the community of Rio Rancho. He sponsored numerous events, little league events.
He's just someone who believes in love for his district, and he is always willing to help.
I would just say Tony O'Carroll's support for our schools and our students is immeasurable, and we just so appreciate Tony O'Carroll.
Frankie doesn't say enough for his support. And I do mean it when I say it again. Thanks for being your friend.
Okay, so we just once again want to say thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thanks for celebrating with us. Thanks for eating some cake with us. And we just truly, truly are grateful for all that you've done for us in our district. And so thank you, everyone. One more time. I'm sure not everyone wants to stay, and you are welcome to stay in our meeting, but I'm just going to do a quick 2-minute recess for those who would like to have the opportunity to leave the meeting before we continue on. So we'll just have a 2-minute recess for that really quick. And once again, thank you so much.
We need to make a statement after this. Is all right. To be. But every year we have had just phenomenal people. And so we really need to have people nominate individuals who really have made these kinds of contributions to our district. So I hope that we can get some great nominations for this year as well. Okay. So we've covered this already, so I don't think I'm going to go through that again. We have on the agenda this evening some information about the social studies instructional materials adoption. This is the year for the New Mexico school districts to adopt their social studies materials. And the way that works in our state is every year you get a different content area, and the cycle is about a 10-year cycle where you go through. So you really what you're making a decision for is the next 10 years of instructional materials that you're going to use in your classrooms. And so it's an extremely important process, and we have, I think, a great process in terms of working with our staff. And tonight you're going to also hear a little bit about how we'll be getting some input from parents in the larger community. It is the thought behind it, and you'll be hearing from the presenter who's really given a lot of thought to how do we get parents involved in this, knowing how busy they are, knowing they have their own lives, they have their own families. How do we get that kind of input that we would like to have from our parents and from the community? And one of the things that sometimes people don't know is that instructional materials in New Mexico is they give you a list and you have to adopt from that list. And there are some small materials that you can sometimes buy separately, but basically we choose from the list that the state has approved. So sometimes when people ask us, well, why didn't you look at this? Or, I heard this is really good. And if it wasn't on that state adopted list, then that's not a possibility for us. However, we have had good committees at the state level, and generally we have a good list of materials to choose from. And then Erica Lozano is here this evening. She presented this information to Cabinet. And I asked if she would come and also present it to the board, so you would kind of get a feel for how parents can have a say and how their voice will be heard. Erica is our secondary curriculum and instruction coordinator for the district. Okay. All right, and then we have some information tonight, really important information for you to have. Our school improvement update. Carl Leppelman, Chief Academic Officer, will say a few words and introduce the other two. Janice Chenault is our Elementary School Improvement Officer, and Renee Saucedo is the Secondary School Improvement Officer. And they will be providing the board and the community this evening with really important information about some of the current initiatives for this school year. They have a lot of jobs. They wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of things that they do. And those are all very important components of their job. But their primary focus is always to support and direct teaching and learning efforts at all of our campuses. And another really important role that they have is that they help support our principal and teacher leadership in the district and help them be the best that they can be. And the role's always been important, but it's really important now as we're moving out of the pandemic and really needing to increase our efforts to promote student achievement in the district. We have some policy recommended changes. You've seen them. The board's already seen them. This is the second adoption. This is the second reading. And they are materials and equipment management, building plans and warranties, educational specifications for school facilities, and the use of pesticides. And so the board will review that information. If they choose to do so, will take action on the proposed changes. Also, District Legal Counsel has carefully reviewed the changes as well. Then we have one invitation to bid this evening. The board is being asked to approve the award of fire protection services. Michael Madrid, our purchasing director, will present the information to the board. Melanie Archibald, Executive Director of Facilities, is also here and would be available for any questions she might have regarding the recommendation. This is it's a little more than just fire protection. There's a lot of things that play into this contract, and they will share that with you. But it's a very important role in keeping our students and staff safe in our schools. There were 8 companies that submitted bids to the district, and one was deemed to be unresponsive, so there were only 7 considered. And then following this meeting, there will be a brief executive session for the board. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions or comments?
Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Cleveland. We appreciate it. Okay, so we will move to our public comment. And before I go to our in-person comments, I'm just going to quickly go through the ones that came through our public comment form. We received 3 public comments through our webpage. The first one was by an anonymous individual concerned about GPAs with our football players, that they're not implementing the rules that have been that we should have for that one. So that's our football.
And we wish we could respond to that, Madam President,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're anonymous, we can't.
Yeah.
And we had really good information because we don't believe it's accurate. But I really encourage people, when you submit, we will really be very glad to respond to you and give you the information that you're seeking. we just can't do it when it's anonymous. So really encourage people to put their names down so that we can get back with you and share the information that you have.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that the district does that often as we have these come in. So thank you. Our next is from Danny Bever, and her concerns are about the middle school level, the bathrooms, that there's 16 bathroom passes per quarter that are being given out at the middle school level. She says, by setting these limits, you will do nothing but create a deeper issue. And so concerns about that. Our next one is by Scott Sanchez, and he is concerned about the buses, transportation, and some of the things that are happening on our buses, the bus safety that's happening on our buses, and concern for his own student. So those are through our public comment form. If anyone would wish to give public comment, you can do that by going to our Rio Rancho our board page. There's a form there where you can go fill out comment. And so now we have public comment. And so I would like to welcome up Bill Stranich. He is from the Rio Rancho Education Foundation, and he is the only one that signed up for our public comment tonight. And so we wait. And Carrie Plant is, well, she's I think coming up with him. Yes. Okay, so from our Rio Rancho Education Foundation. So thank you so much for being here. For those giving our public comment, it's been a very off meeting. We've been in and out and in and out. And so thank you for being patient with us.
And we missed out on the cake, but our name is Carrie Plant, is our treasurer for the Rio Rancho Education Foundation. We wrangled her onto the board about 3 or 4 months ago. So you can see the class and the organizational readiness.
What he means is time flies when you're having fun. It was January.
Oh, sorry. And I'm Bill Stanich, president of the Rio Rancho Education Foundation. So good evening, board chair, board members, and Dr. Cleveland. Rio Rancho Education Foundation is pleased to announce our renewed partnership with the Hall of Honor Committee. We will be working with the committee, scheduling the next Hall of Honor celebration. This has been our key fundraising event in the past, and we hope to revive it back to that level it once was. The event is tentatively scheduled for March of 2023. We've lost 3 board members over the last 12 months, and we're looking for replacements for board positions. So if you know anybody that would like to be involved with our foundation, we'd love to talk to them and see if they have the time commitment to do it. Great. We're also looking at additional fundraisers to help grow our endowment, as well as continue to fund the annual classroom grants program. We award grants to classrooms. Teachers submit the grant requests and we review them. And we've been averaging around $23,000 to $25,000 a year in grants just into the classrooms. And these are unrestricted funds. They come in with a good reason why they need it, and we give them the money. It's pretty simple on that part. We've awarded over $10,000 to the Kits Foundation of Excellence over the last 12 months, and that is to help support the math program at the public schools. Let's see here. The Rio Rancho Education Foundation has committed $50,000 to the CTE program towards a curriculum development that will facilitate an opportunity for graduates to receive an associate's degree along with their high school diploma when leaving CTE. So those are the things that we've been working on. And we do appreciate the Rio Rancho Public School System. My daughter goes there. She's going to graduate, hopefully. So again, thank you so much for your time.
The endowment.
Oh, the endowment. The endowment is, we're sitting right around $350,000, and our goal is to get up to $1 million. And with that, we'll be able to supplement our grants each year, as well as be able to help with some capital campaigns in the future.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you and the foundation for supporting our legislative. We had the LFC come to the CTE program, and we've been talking to them about funding. That's not something we can afford to pay, but you underwrote that reception, as well as the Golden Apple family members attending Golden Apple. Thank you. Those are the kinds of things that the foundation does that the school district can't afford to do, and by law. So we're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for public comment tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. So now for our meeting, we're moving into our reports. Our first report is for parent engagement in the secondary social studies instructional materials. So we have Erica Lozano. Erica, say your last name for me. Lozano, thank you. Our secondary curriculum and instruction coordinator who is here and who I've actually had the opportunity to work with a little bit in the last few weeks. It's been great. So.
Good evening, President Golfus, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. Thank you for having me this evening. Again, my name is Erica Lozano, and I am the secondary coordinator for English language arts and social studies. And I have the honor of working with our incredible teachers at the middle school and high school level in those content areas. I'm going to be sharing with you our plan this year for how we can engage our entire community and any who are interested in being involved in not only the instructional materials adoption process for social studies, but also a deeper dive into our standards. I want to give you a little background on where we're at right now with our committee. Our committee work with our group of 36 teachers has started. We started back in September, and actually we're in the midst of our second round of full day meetings right now, diving deep into our curriculum documents around the new standards for the 23-24 school year and beyond. I want to just give a huge shout out to our committee. They're broken up into 4 groups just to make this sub coverage more manageable, but it's actually lended itself to really great, rich conversations for each of the disciplines that we serve within the realm of social studies, 6th through 12th grade. So with that being said, I'll walk you through how we're going to approach things a little differently this year. We know that our community is very curious about the new standards, and they have lots of questions, and all of those questions are very valid. And so we wanted to create a platform this year, and we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. We wanted to create really a collaborative and inquiry-based process for our community to engage both in questions that they have about the standards and the instructional materials process itself. Typically, when we go through an instructional materials process, the involvement really resides around the adoption of the new materials, but we're expanding that this year because the standards are new. So we are calling this our Content Connection Learning Series, and I'm going to walk you through in just a minute what that will look like, but it is open to all. So sometimes there's a smaller, more select group of members who are part of a learning series or a committee. And we wanted to open this up because our community is so inquisitive and curious about the new standards in this process this year. So I've spoken about this a little bit, but we really wanted to have an opportunity for inclusivity. But we also wanted to channel all of the questions that have come through and be able to address those questions in an organized way, so that the community also really gets a big picture of what these standards are meant to do for teaching and learning, and also what they're all about and what they'll look like on a daily basis for instruction specifically. So this is just a quick overview of what the structure will look like. So we are going to start with live virtual lunch and learn sessions. They will take place the second Wednesday of every month from 12 to 1 o'clock. They will be interactive and activity-based, so it will not be me sitting there reporting out on information about the standards, but instead engaging those that are able to attend in an activity so that they can dive in and explore that learning through that live virtual platform. Those will be recorded so that they can be available for the community, for those who cannot attend. And we will be sharing both notices about the upcoming meetings and then also where the recordings are posted for our community through the Pathways and Partnerships publication. And then on the staff side, because I think when we talk about community, we often think of everybody who's not a staff member, but we want to engage our staff as well, not just the 36 members of our committee, but anyone and everyone who wants to learn more. So we have several different ways that we're doing that this year. Number one, the same access will be provided to our entire Rio Rancho Public Schools staff through the district pulse. So they will receive the notices and they will also receive access to the recordings. And then all members who attend or watch these videos asynchronously They will also have access to a form where they can submit questions if anything comes up after the session, or if they have questions and we're not able to attend the live session. And then we promise to respond to those questions in a timely manner. Our staff is also going to engage in the spring in a deeper dive into the standards. Our committee is getting a really great grasp on the new standards through our full day sessions, but that's just 36 of our teachers. And we want to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to dive in so that when we start school next year on day one, everybody is at the same place with their understanding of this huge shift in instruction for social studies going into the 23-24 school year. So I don't know if we're able to click on this, but I wanted to share with you where everything will be housed. So the sessions are accessible through the YouTube page, and then the recordings, to my understanding, will also be available there. But we've created a website as well, not only to access that same information, but also for anyone who wants to explore more. So this page is currently under development, and I believe it goes live tomorrow. But we kind of piloted this last year when we had a lot of restrictions with COVID, when we were going through the middle school English language arts, and I believe elementary did this as well. We piloted offering parents the opportunity to explore online. But this will also be coupled with live sessions for parents as well when we get into the spring and we're looking at materials. So I won't go through this in depth right now, but I do invite you to explore it a little further if you'd like to. There's a quick, we don't have to play it now, but there's a quick video that kind of orients parents and community members to the website so that they can navigate through it and know what's available to look at. What's really important here is the frequently asked question page. There's nothing, or maybe one or two things on there now, but as those questions come in, we will post those on here as well so that they are public and available to anyone who would like to learn more about what the community is asking. So this is just another view of what the process is going to look like. So again, we'll communicate through our district newsletters, both internally and to the community. We'll have the live session, we'll gather feedback, a form will go out, that will be posted on the website and available through the district pulse and pathways and partnerships. We will draft responses to anyone who has questions and make sure that we reply and post those on the website, as I just mentioned. And then just continue that cycle of communication so that everyone is aware of what has taken place and what's coming up next. This is just an overview of the topics that are planned. This follows the kind of the study path or the learning pathway that our committee is going through. So our committee elected to do a deep dive into the standards for this semester. They felt like they couldn't make an informed decision about instructional materials unless they had a very thorough understanding of not only the standards, but also the instructional shifts that complement those standards. And so we'll walk the community through activities that really orient them around those foundational documents. And then moving into the spring, we'll dive into the instructional materials adoption process so that they can have a preview of what it is that we're looking at to adopt. We will have a live open house session in February. We don't have the exact dates yet, but we know that our families have various schedules and availability. So we will be offering multiple in-person sessions during the day, in the evenings, potentially on different days of the week, so that families have multiple opportunities to come in. And I don't know about you, but I like to get my hands on books. So looking at them online is okay, but being able to actually come in and flip through the pages and get your hands on them is a unique experience, and we want everybody to be able to take advantage of that who would like to. So our first session will be on the instructional shifts, and it's important that we start there because it really lays the groundwork. There are 5 instructional shifts for social studies, and they really are, like I said, kind of the groundwork or the framework of what that shift is in teaching and learning that our standards are moving toward. So that will be on Wednesday, November 9th from 12 to 1, again, live online. And that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add anything?
Just thank you for your presentation. I thought it really gave us an opportunity to really kind of get a big picture view. If people want to participate, there's a way.
Mhm.
And they have an opportunity to provide input. We really hope people will do that because we're very interested in hearing what they think and what they have to say. But thank you for putting this together. I think it's a great process.
Thank you. And I think that says too for us as board members and just everyone in the community who's watching this right now that we make sure we get that information out. And you're going to do a great job of getting all this information out. But a lot of times it's the people that really helps us to let the community know that. And so I think we just need to make sure we take that responsibility
It
on.
comes out to partners and the partnership and that goes out to every parent.
Mhm.
And so that's pathways and partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my brain exactly what it is, but so that's what they should be looking for.
Okay.
And it goes to every single parent. It goes to them on a regular basis. And but of course they can always call here
Mhm.
if they want more information. We'll help them if they call as well.
And we've been working with communications, and I do believe that these will also be posted as events on social media as well. So if anybody follows Rio Rancho Public Schools on social media, they'll be available there.
Okay.
And I wanted to thank you too, President Galbraith. I know you've been engaging with us in our meetings, and it's been wonderful to have you there.
It's fun. I missed one, so I'm hoping to be there this week though for
High school,
yeah.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
I know I haven't met with them yet. So let me see if there's some other questions. Gary, any questions?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank all the teachers in the school district for their great work with the social studies curriculum. I think our teachers are truly amazing when it comes to our social studies curriculum. And if you could send that message, it's very much appreciated, and I thank them.
Absolutely. I will let them know. I will let middle school know in my feedback email from this last week, and I'll let high school know in person tomorrow and Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just want to say thanks for your work. Greatly appreciate it.
Erica, I'm wondering what impact will our input have? If the books are a select group, how much impact can we have in this?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I understand your question.
Well, Dr. Cleveland said that, the books come assigned basically, and we choose which books. Are they all the same genre of change, or are we going to have some ability to impact?
Sure. Yes, that's a great question. Because these standards are so new, sometimes with publishers, it does take publishers a while to catch up. And so the resources that we have to choose from, first and foremost, they are only those that are on the recommended list from the New Mexico Public Education Department. We don't look at any, and we're not, as Dr. Cleveland mentioned, we're not allowed to look at any that were not recommended. And so the one thing though with our committee work is that if there's something that doesn't fully meet the bar and meet our expectations, sometimes we do have to supplement with additional resources to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students. So while we may adopt a particular, from a particular publisher and adopt a particular resource, for instance, there are financial literacy standards that are included in every grade level, and there's not a single publisher like a world history textbook that has a financial literacy section or chapter. So that is something that we'll have to supplement to make sure that we're meeting those standards and providing that learning opportunity to our students.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing is our curriculum is not the book.
Correct.
And so that's why we have this team of teachers that work, and they develop the curriculum. The book is a resource. It's really important to have a good book because you want that materials and you pull from it and you use it. But our curriculum is not the book. And so, as Erica's saying, we build our curriculum, and then if there are additional resources we need, we supplement with those. But those are separate. They're both important, but we don't teach the book.
And that's what
We
we're
teach
starting.
the standards.
And that is what we're starting with this year. Actually this last week and then tomorrow, our teachers are putting together the year at a glance, where they're ensuring that we meet that guaranteed and viable curriculum. So the guaranteed part of making sure that every standard that is required by PED is included in our year at a glance. And then when we meet the next time, we'll be looking at our pacing calendar to ensure that it's viable and we're able to teach all of those standards from the first day of school to the last. They're being very thoughtful about it. And it does give them a better picture of what are the needs of the students of Rio Rancho Public Schools. And then when we get to those resources, they're able to say, this one really meets our curriculum and the needs of our curriculum and what we're hoping students will learn this year.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then I don't know if Jessica Tyler, can you hear us? I don't know if we can hear you back. I just wanted to see if you have any questions.
I can, and no, I don't have any questions. I think we've covered it all. Thank you very much for the thorough presentation.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being in.
Jessica, it's like a voice from on high.
I know. All right. Our next report will be school improvement update. We have Carl Leppelman, our Chief Academic Officer, with Jana Chanel, our Elementary School Improvement Officer, and also Renee Saucedo, our Secondary School Improvement Officer.
Good evening, President Albrecht, President Cleveland, members of the board. When we talk about school improvement, it is, how can I say, it's hard work. Obviously, school improvement takes on a lot of different variables. I think the first one I would mention is leadership, a strong instructional leader. And so we are blessed with two instructors, strong instructional leaders, Renee Saucedo and Jan Chanel. And Dr. Cleveland and myself saw that, what they did in the schools they were in terms of school, improving school climate, student achievement. So that's why they're here today. But one thing Dr. Cleveland has always said is there's no greater gift you can give to a student than a tremendous teacher. Engaging teacher that not only loves their students, but brings passion to what they do and finds ways to meet the needs of all students. So students really understand what they're learning. It just works, you know that kind of teacher. I think the second greatest thing you give is instructional leader, a strong instructional leader. And so school improvement is tied to that. And there are a lot of variables we'll be seeing tonight that we're going to be talking about. So I just wanted to really recognize it too, because not only are they looking at school improvement in terms of that guaranteed viable curriculum, and does that show up in best practice in the school, because you can have a very strong curriculum, or set of standards in the district, great curriculum you've adopted, but if it didn't show up in the instruction in the classroom, it doesn't really matter, does it? So at the end of the day, we came out of the pandemic, and we see that we have challenges with our students in terms of behavior, in terms of second and third graders not knowing their letters or even how to hold a pencil, things that are common that we'd expect. And so Jana and Renee work closely with CNI to look at how can we bring all students, and I'm talking about a sense of urgency because we're in October, we'll soon be in November. So we want to meet the needs of all students, and particularly at all levels. So we want to challenge those students at the higher level. We certainly want all students who are behind to get additional support. So I'll turn it over. I think it's first.
We just do everything
We do
together.
it together. Okay, so we do that.
So we'll stay up to questions.
That's.
And we do answer to Janae every once.
I love that.
So school improvement. There are lots of hats. We won't talk about every single hat we wear. But basically we work with principals side by side to make sure it's not all about data. If it's being a liaison between the schools and district office, making sure that we hire, support, and mentor the principals once they're in place. Our office, we look at data for continuous improvement, but we're always just working side by side with the principals, trying to make their life easier. We've also inherited extended learning, so we oversee that budget also. That's just kind of a general overview of what we do in our department.
And I would say I don't know if we shared this before, but I remember being a principal when these positions came open, and what all the administrators wanted was like one person to go to, instead of trying to find everybody. And I think at this point of the year, we've gotten there. If they need something, typically we're the first one, and we can go find who can support them. And so I think that's a huge relief for them that they don't have to track other people down. Not that they always do that, but we're there. You may have heard about the strategic plan, so we're going to show you how we're connected to each component of the strategic plan. So staff excellence, I'll keep yours out a little hard to see. We started the first year that we worked together, the very first year, and set up mentoring sessions for the principals. And we have some data to share with you. And that was really important to us that in our role, we were supporting new and aspiring leaders, but also current administrators. And so we've done things as far as reviewing board policies, and those change all the time. So making sure our new administrators know where to find board policies. We talked a lot about legal decisions and court decisions that will guide how they make decisions as leaders so that they're informed. Professional learning communities and setting up systems, making sure that principals know how to set up systems and they are efficient in the schools. That's a big part of what we do, especially as administration changes, which you'll see here pretty soon. Right now, you're doing a lot with kind of the change in staff culture that's happened pre-pandemic to now and supporting principals with that. We're in the middle or towards the end of doing our first round of professional development plans with principals, and this is the first year that I've had almost every principal breakdown, and it's October. So it's been, I think they're feeling the effects of the last couple of years, and now the needs are still there, and yet the kids' needs are higher, the staff needs are higher. So we work a lot with staff, or with principals, and working through that with our staff and just being that support. This year was exciting. We worked with Dr. Happy Miller to secure Dr. Ellen Bornkamp. She came and worked with administrators on a voluntary basis with assessment and instruction, and she's from Michigan and works with their data cohort there and leads that. And so that's been a great partnership. We're going to be able to bring her back again, and that was a wonderful opportunity. So we've done more professional development this year with our principals outside of us than we've been able to do prior, and a lot of that's because we had extended learning money to do that. You'll see the new administrators to this year. What was a little shocking as we were digging into the data, since we took this role in 2018, Renee and I have had the hand in hiring or being part of the hiring of 36 principals or assistant principals out of the 50 that we have. So that was kind of eye-opening for us to realize that. So it really does, if we were thinking about Good to Great with Jim Collins, and he talks about you have to find that leader. After that exceptional leader, you need to find another exceptional leader or that school is going to fall apart. So that's a big focus for us.
On the next slide, we talk about engagement and innovation. And just some of the different programs, some of the different things that we've done. Of course, we were part of the cognitive accreditation that we completed in 2022, where all 21 schools were accredited in the district-wide accreditation. There are several summer programs that many of them, because of extended learning, we've been able to completely fund. For example, the Free Arts of Success summer program, which PE, music, art, a lot of, if we didn't have extended learning for this, students would be asked to pay for it. But because of the extended learning money, we're able to completely fund those programs. And that's at it was at two different sites last year. So that's been, it was a huge success. Also, the credit recovery programs, after school and during the summer, we've worked on. I work with UNM Health Sciences to do the Health Career Academy during the summer. So we have lots of things going on in the summer. Also with Boys and Girls Club for the after school, middle school programs, that 3 of the middle schools are going strong right now. We've also been able to support, like Janet had talked about a little bit earlier, professional development, some PLC work, data analysis, lots of different professional development. And then with extended learning, I'm going to let Janet kind of talk about the specifically extended learning program a little bit more.
As we were getting ready for this, I was kind of joking with Renee, it's like follow the money. So you look at your budget and you figure out that's really the impact you have. Like, what did you put your money towards to support the schools? And when extended learning came out, we had just started this position and we were trying to figure out what it was. I don't know if you guys realize that, but sometimes when new things come out, you're still trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. And we were lucky enough at that time to be told, just do something, find it and make it great for kids. And so we are really proud of what's happened. We just got going with extended learning pre-pandemic, and we were able to, that was just a couple schools that we did voluntarily, And then during COVID, we were able to do that all virtually and still provide opportunities for kids. So we're really excited. We have currently 78 staff members participating in extended learning with 131 clubs across the district, and they're just starting now. And then we have 52 staff members providing tutoring and no charge to parents across the district.
And those clubs do not include the high school clubs because those are paid for in a different way. So that's just elementary and middle school, that there's 131 new clubs that kids are able to participate in.
So I will say that whenever somebody wants to do an athletic one, we run it by Bruce Carver first because we always think about liability, but you can see we have a lot of band, we have a lot of art, and it's teachers are back. For a while there, they didn't want to do anything before and after school, but now they're excited. So they'll send us an email and they'll say, can we do basketball? And this is what we want to do. Or can we do archery? I want to be trained in that. So they're really thinking of engaging things for kids. And we know that this is a huge part of the whole child experience. The academics are very important and we support that every day. And we know the value. We also know that this is a huge benefit to our students. And so we're very proud of this.
Yeah.
So this just shows you a little bit more. And you'll see at the end of the presentation, we do have other pictures just for you to look at so you can see some of it. The Puerto del Sol there, that's the gentleman who was here who received the grant, and that's part of what he's doing in his team. But he also has a club after school. We've also been able to offer so far 20.5 hours of professional development for staff so that they can have opportunities outside of the school day as well.
And that's for all staff. Under safety and wellness, and this, some of the work, Sherry Carver talked about the Student Support Center when she did her presentation. I think that really falls under safety and wellness. Like we said, we work closely with the principals at each school, and Independence High School has been doing some wonderful things in regards to safety and wellness. One Thursday a month, they have a day where teachers, instead of just having classes all day, they do two periods of remediation sometime throughout their day, and then they sign up for different. Teachers are able to take what they're passionate about and teach it to the kids. So it might be crocheting, it could be painting, it could be basketball, whatever it is. And kids sign up in those different classes. So really, it's a wonderful thing that Independence High School has done. They looked at another thing that they did that we've all worked together on, they looked at their data, and surprisingly enough, at the high school level, at Independence High School, first period was not well attended, and therefore the grades weren't great. Well, Stephanie came up with this idea that she's gonna rotate, so Monday, first period, Tuesday, second period is first. Wednesday, third period is first. And it's really made a huge difference in kids' grades. And Stephanie likes to say, you know, when we were all teachers, maybe I wasn't a great first period teacher, but I was an amazing afternoon teacher. And so the kids get the best of the teachers too, and the teachers get the best of the kids. So we, you know, work together and work under safety and wellness in that way.
As far as staff safety and wellness, it's rare that we don't have a call from a principal during the day about something happening. And typically, at least in secondary, the calls are very serious. When you're an administrator and somebody tells you they're going to call district office on you, it's a scary thing to think about. I think our role has helped shift that for principals. It's not scary anymore. Now they know that if somebody's going to call, we're going to be there to support them and help them with the situation. And so we really wanted to shift that as our job is to support what's happening at the school. So it's also the safety and wellness of our staff as much as the students.
Under operational excellence, this goes back to following the money. We work closely with Mike Baker and HR for allocations for each of the schools. Mike Baker tries to tell us cut, and we tell him that we just won't do it. It never works, but we try. We also have the budget for extended learning under our umbrella. We did a K-12 planning grant this year, so we were able to get $500,000 more toward that extended learning. worked with instructional coaches for elementary, have also worked, Janice provided training for the new Montessori teachers, worked with M-Dash, so just some of the examples of the operational things that we are doing.
All right, new this year, as you know, we have the extra 10 days and we built in professional development planning for teachers. I was fortunate enough to sit in on the first one with an elementary school, and it really was a nice solid chunk of time to dig into the new CKLA curriculum for elementary, and great conversations that we wouldn't have had that time otherwise. It was really well utilized. And then it just, you can see the list here, but I wanted to highlight the elementary schools working. Well, I'll just say it here. But anyway, Kim Johns offered to do professional development for our educational assistants on a Wednesday afternoon around social, emotional, and regulation for kids, and tools that they use at Shining Stars that really are best practices across the campuses. So we had two sessions, one session for the early release schools and one session for the late. And educational assistants could sign up. Both sessions were full. And then Kim took them through what they do at Shining Stars, which is really the most cohesive group because they're all trained in everything. And she showed them the things that they do for kids and took them through all the different tools they have at Shining Stars. And what was brought up by one of the educational assistants is how come this isn't pervasive in our school? And that understanding of this is a school for almost all, you have over half of your students have special needs, and that's not the same. But now the educational assistants want more of that. And so she's continued to provide that. She wants to continue to provide that for them on our ELTP days so that they can get training and dealing with some of our kiddos that are really struggling and helping them build visual schedules for kids and how do you use them. And so that's been a great partnership between Shining Stars and the elementary school this year.
New at the secondary level this year, like I said before, we started the middle school program, after school program with the Boys and Girls Club. We are also going to have a middle school summer school program that we have not had for many years. We're going to do that this year. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but there will be a middle school summer school program. And then we have really worked on tightening up credit recovery. You know, during COVID, we did a credit recovery boot camp. And we just wanted to tighten up exactly what credit recovery looks like. Right now, we have an after-school credit recovery at both of the comprehensive high schools. We want to make sure that it looks the same at both of those places, and also during the summer. So we've worked really hard with the rules that what we allow and what we don't allow with Edgenuity, and I want to make sure that there are some live math courses instead of all Edgenuity during summer school. So just tightening up what that credit recovery looks like.
For our highlights, you know, we have, I think hands down, we have the best administrators in the state. We have remarkable leaders in our schools, we really do. And they do go above and beyond. We see it every day for our students and for their staff, and that's a heavy load to carry. So they do a remarkable job. We're also very excited. I don't know if any of you participated or saw pictures. We have families back on campus, and so this past 2 weekends have been huge at the elementary schools for, they had different character dress-up days, or some of them did the trunk or treat at their school, and staff really got invested, and huge turnout at every school. They're very excited to have families back on campus. It's been a really good feeling.
And then, of course, we always want to talk about our amazing graduation rate, which was 87.1% across the district. Both of the comprehensives are right there at that 89%, 89.8, 89.9%. So we're looking forward to going across the 90% threshold there, but are very proud of our graduation rates.
We are fortunate in Rancho, and I know you know this from the news, that we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum, and that we have clear expectations for our staff on what we're teaching the kids, and no matter which teacher, which school, they have the same opportunity at each school. And our teachers do a remarkable job of that. It's been challenging this year seeing the data come out and seeing that just across the country that the scores have dropped. But we were at a conference earlier this week, and the presenter said, good, that shows that schools are important, schools matter. So I thought that was a great lens to bring back and say, yes, we know our kids weren't with us full time, and it shows how much they need schools and how much they need to be with us. So we are working with and looking at our data with our schools, along with our school improvement plans, and talking about how we're going to address some of these gaps. And our conversations have really revolved around, and included with CNI, acceleration, and then looking at, instead of intervention, prevention. And how are we preparing kids prior to entering a lesson so that we are giving them the supports they need. Those are kind of our two big initiatives this year. And then in elementary, we started talking about, do we need to reimagine what kindergarten looks like? And we're just in the very beginning stages of that. But if you look across the country, there's a lot of research coming out now around how much of that time can there be very strategic, for lack of a better word, play coming back into kindergarten, and how much of an impact is that making on kids' social skills. We were just looking at some brain research today, and if kids don't figure out how to, they learn by 30 months how they're going to respond to a situation. And so if a child is in a home and their response is to scream or throw a tantrum, by the time they come to kindergarten, that will be their same response. And we're seeing a lot of that. So whatever kids have been through, for young kids, half of their life through COVID, if they learn certain responses during that time, we have a lot of work to do. So we're trying to figure out how we can incorporate those skills that are needed to be ready to learn without sacrificing the academic piece as well. So we're starting to have that conversation.
Some of the other challenges that we're seeing, and this is pre-K-12, are, and Sherry talked about this also, student and parent behavior. And that's just a challenge that we have to deal with and figure out how we're gonna get through it. But one of the other big challenges, as I've been talking to people, is attendance. And during COVID, I think that students, parents, whoever, have come to the feeling that attendance just isn't quite as important as it was prior to COVID. And so what we need to decide is either we're going to need to find a way to do things differently or figure out how to tighten up our attendance policy. So we need to come together and just look at attendance and see how we're going to deal with that. We have kids with huge number of absences, and there's a wide variety of grades attached. So kids with straight A's have huge number of absences. Kids with B's and C's have huge, but it doesn't matter. There's just an attendance issue going on in the schools, and that's at all grade levels also. So what are we going to do with that?
Which leads us into opportunities. We all know we need more pre-K space, and that's great, but we need the funding and the staff to go with it. And that's another piece of that brain research, is how soon can you get the kids into the system where there's support for them. And then in elementary, same as Renee, we're trying to figure out, we have kiddos that are coming in that just aren't regulated to learn. And it's very hard for a teacher to try to teach when she has one student or a couple of students who really haven't figured out how to do school. And we're not mental health experts, and we're not, some of our teachers aren't trained in how to do that. So that's a lot of work, and we're trying to figure out how do we support these kiddos and give them what they need so they're ready to learn. So that's something that we're going to continue to improve on. And just going back to the academic piece, making sure that we're providing that support and planning for what our kids need, and not trying to catch them in that intervention piece. And that's a challenge when you're doing a certain curriculum, because you want to give the same thing to all, but we really need to do a good job of planning ahead of time.
And at the secondary, I would really like to find a way to increase instructional support at the middle school level. At elementary, we have an instructional coach at every school. At the high school, we have instructional leaders. But really at middle school, and at both of those places, people have time in their schedule to provide that support. At the middle school, we have content leaders who are teachers who graciously, for a minimal amount of money, are the content leaders, but they don't have any additional time in their schedule to provide that support. So that's really one place that I would like to concentrate on, trying to get that support at middle school.
So continue to collaborate. We have a great relationship with our curriculum and instruction department. We have a wonderful curriculum and instruction, and we want to make sure we can provide that just-in-time learning to our students. So we're committed to that as a group. And then, really utilizing the continuous improvement process that DASH gives us to really focus on that cycle of improvement and have really good conversations. Back to opportunities for improvement, focusing on what that root cause is and making sure we're hitting the right thing. And we're not just whatever we think is popular, but where's the data that says that that's the right thing that's going to leverage learning is a really important part of that process.
I'd like to look at the diploma of distinction and kind of re-examining what that looks like. I know that PD is in the process of looking at a different set of graduation requirements that we really know very, very little about. So I think that all of that will be coming in the future. And also working with CNI to look at grading practices and attendance at both middle school and high school, at the high school level.
And as you have questions, we just have pictures, if you'll just flip through them, please, Claudia, of just some of the examples of what is going on in our before and after school programs. We should have the same music. I can sing.
Please, Renee, please.
Yeah, we have things.
So we do stand for questions.
Okay.
The last couple of slides here, I don't know if any of you either worked with Matt Farley or had kids that had Matt Farley. He was an AP environmental teacher at Rancho High School and passed away a couple of years ago, but he and several other science teachers used to always take their kids to the river to do all of these tests. And so the Matt Farley Foundation provides the test kits, supplies and everything, but we were able to, through extended learning, pay for the buses to get there.
Oh, that's neat. Huh.
Matt Farley was a wonderful teacher.
How long did he teach there at
You know, Sharon,
the high school?
I worked with him for,
I would say at least 15 years.
at
Okay.
least, yeah. Was he there when you were there?
Who's there now?
Yeah.
I took-
That was 99.
Okay, so I took environmental science when I was, I think, a senior or junior, and so I'm wondering if I can't remember if that was it. I'm gonna have to look at it. I can remember his face, but I can't think of. So he must have been then.
Yeah.
He must. I think he was
Be
the
there 20
first.
years.
Was he the first teacher? I think he
Yeah.
was the. Yeah.
He was
So
part of the
I did
first
take his
group.
class. I did.
Miss
I remember why he took us, and we walked over to the golf course, and because they have that little environment that was made from the golf course down there, and we looked at that. So, oh, that's too bad to hear that he passed away. I didn't know that. So, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for everything. And then, Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add anything before we go
Thank
into?
you for a very thorough report, and a lot of good things are going on. It is a challenging time, but we've got plans to move forward, and so thank you for sharing all of this tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Gary Tripp?
I guess I have a few things because I was writing down some notes.
I saw that. Carl answered them.
Well, actually, I wanted to compliment you and the whole administration for the PLCs. I teach 24 teachers, and 7 of them are from Rio Rancho Public Schools. And every other district's jealous of what's going on in Rio Rancho Public Schools. So when you talked about professional development and you talk about some of the great things that are going on or that have improved, like credit recovery, I got goosebumps when I saw Character Strong. And then I got goosebumps when I saw all the things we're offering middle school and elementary kids that we haven't offered before. And I guess my comment, maybe I'll keep it short. So my comment is that maybe we shouldn't beat ourselves up so much about attendance, because these kids got some, maybe not the best habits staying at home during the pandemic. And maybe we need to let these great things that we're starting take its course, because their total engagement, and these kids are they're gonna want engagement. And our teachers, I think I know them pretty well, that they stay consistent to what they do every day. And then a personal compliment, I love seeing the NWEA informative assessment. I think that's the way to measure, and that's my little brain talking, but I think there's so many great things going on that you guys are doing and other administrators. And so I really believe attendance will come back and our kids will come back, because our teachers rise to the occasion. And thank you for being there to help them, so.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to, really briefly just kind of respond to something. I think, you make a really good point about letting things kind of take their course. But on the other hand, there's just such a sense of urgency.
I know.
Because what we saw in the pandemic, our kids got hurt a whole lot more than we thought they did. And so now we're kind of torn between knowing you're right. Some of these things are going to take some time just to kind of build back out. But on the other hand, we see where they are. And so it just really creates a sense of urgency. We've got to move forward quickly, and yet sometimes you can't, and so you make a really valid point. But it is important to know. I mean, I think the biggest lesson we've learned out of all of it is our kids were hurt a lot more than we thought. And we tried everything we knew to do during the time to do the right thing. But there were bad habits. So much so I've used the example of Lord of the Flies, the novel. Sometimes it almost feels like that's kind of, or it was just a lot of things weren't getting done that should have. But anyway, I wanted to say we're pulled all the time between the urgency of needing to get things done quickly because we see where they are, and also knowing that some things can't be hurried because of mental health issues, because of other things that we are going to have to take our time. And so I don't know what the answer is. There's a balance to both of those.
Madam President, I think I did have one other thing, and that was just the graduation rate, and as high as it is, but seeing Independence High School with that character strong and just the way those kids conduct themselves at the graduation that we were at, it speaks to that character strong program maybe, and the great staff they have. But that's a good rate. It needs to be 100%, right? We say that and we try our stride, but I think Independence and those high schools, I mean, and it all started because of those elementary teachers are so wonderful. But that graduation rate, congratulations to all of us in this community, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. When I love that thing with Stephanie with switching the class periods around, I always say that I'm like, by fourth period, I'm amazing. So you're like, that didn't work. That didn't work. Pull that up. Jeff, go ahead.
I just had one question. You had mentioned some changes around the graduation requirements. Do you have any more information on that? You just touched on it.
I do, and I'll try to get you some of it. I haven't had a chance to even, so new, haven't even had a chance to share it with all of them.
Okay.
But I'm part of a committee that the LFC has appointed to relook at graduation requirements for the state, and including the number of credits required, which I was amazed with. The individual districts can still have more if they want. The biggest change, though, that's coming with regards to that is looking at certain courses, particularly at the high school level, that may count for courses that we not have flexibility. For example, Algebra 2. There may be opportunities to substitute certain career technical math for that. Or fourth year English, you might be able to take technical writing for that fourth year rather than English Lit. So thank you. So that the biggest issue is, I'm sorry, that didn't hear, but the biggest thing that they're looking at right now is maybe additional courses that will count for core courses that have not counted in the past, for technical writing, maybe for English 4, or technical math, or engineering math, or another type of math for Algebra 2. And so they're looking at some flexibility there. They're looking at the possibility of every student having a concentration before they leave high school. And that's kind of interesting, some of the ideas that are being discussed. So there's a committee looking at it. There's also a proposal to restructure some of the courses. So I have an opportunity to share, but we'll be looking at that. We'll be coming back and sharing that with the board as well. The last thing I would say is that each individual district does have the ability, as we've had in the past, if we prefer to see more for our students, we can still do that. And so I think that's an important thing that this will be the minimums. It doesn't necessarily mean that has to be what we offer. So.
Okay. Any other questions from Jeff?
I'll get them to you soon.
Yeah, okay. 'Cause I had one other question, but
No, you can. Do you have another?
I'll just go. Did they say anything about graduation requirements around testing?
Yeah, they did. But I don't think there's any consensus yet about what that ought to look like.
Okay.
There is definitely a move toward opportunities that we're looking at, and I've been looking at for a long time for career technical, that career pathways, that certifications may in fact be allowed, may be a factor as opposed to just test scores alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Noreen, Scott, you have any questions?
No, thank you for an excellent presentation.
And then Jessica, Tyler, do you have any questions?
I do have one question. I know with a lot of the focus around the challenges that we're facing, especially with behavioral issues at all of the levels, and you talked briefly about the amount of new administrators that we've hired. Are all of our administrator positions filled, or do we have openings in those positions?
We are 100% full.
Oh, man. Right on.
That's awesome.
And a lot of our changes last year were not necessarily people leaving our district, but moving to another position. So they might have left one school and went to another school, and then people moved in, or they moved up within our district. But we are full, and we are actively preparing our next round of administrators.
And in addition to us, we have assigned each of those new administrators mentors with their same. So assistant principals have an assistant principal mentor.
That's good.
A principal mentor in addition to us.
That's really good. Okay. I just looked to the sky. I don't know why. Jessica, anything else?
I guess I'm coming from the sky now. Sorry.
Surprised
No,
you-
thank you guys very much. And I really like the structure of having your positions there to support. I think it creates a nice, like you were saying, Jenna, a nice streamlined process of support to the schools. And so I appreciate the structure of your positions and all of the work you guys do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And honestly, so timely, like as we are, I know that there's those challenges, right, with some of the environment that's going on in the schools and stuff, but you have been such a support. As I've seen the emails go back and forth between everyone, but you guys have been such a support to our schools. And there's so many that you do. I don't know how we survived before without this. So anyway, thank you. Any other questions from anyone or comments from?
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, and then our last report for the evening will be on our Federal Bilingual and Native American Programs Department update. We have Carl Eppelman, our Chief Academic Officer, also with Suzanne Nguyen, our Executive Director of Federal Bilingual and Native Programs, to present.
And I'd like to apologize to Suzanne and Carl. We thought that we were moving, I thought we were moving yours to next time. And then in the rush to get the agenda posted with Ken having to leave town, I may have very well dropped the ball on that. So my apologies. I didn't mention it during the introductory, so I thought we were doing it next time. So anyway, so we're glad you're here and you're ready to go, but my apologies to you. I'm sorry.
President Galbraith, members of the board. Actually, it's really good that they're together because they work so closely together. Mrs. Nguyen has done a great job leveraging federal bilingual program funds to support not only schools, school sites, but CNI department and school improvement officers. So we don't work in isolation, we work collectively. And especially the limited dollars that come into our district federally relative to maybe other districts. It's a remarkable amount of goals and what this one has achieved in supporting our principals and our teachers. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Nguyen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leppelman. And no worries at all, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board, Madam President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland, thank you for your time tonight. You see on this slide here our department overview, also on our webpage. However, I would synthesize for you tonight that the scope of our work is providing focused support on asset-based, relevant, and responsive teaching and learning across the system. Next slide, our strategic plan serves as our compass as we work with members of all stakeholder groups toward reaching the mission of our district. Going into staff excellence, the first bullet here lists the various very specific roles across our schools in the system that we directly support. We have language and culture coordinators at Shining Stars Preschool, English language development coordinators K through 12, and in some cases more than one, bilingual coordinators, and also through our department contracted interpreters. And additionally, we provide customized, rich, and meaningful professional learning opportunities for all staff in all positions. I would consider this an extension of our department. So everybody in our district is really an extension of our department, since we share the responsibility in supporting all of our students and families collectively. To broaden our reach, we engage teams and task forces of individuals beyond these specific roles. For engagement and innovation, you may have noticed over all of the various reports the commonalities, particularly with the GVC. And it always circles back to culturally and linguistically responsive teaching and learning as well. So that's another component that my department is able to enhance programs through. Our team, again, extended team members across the district at schools serve as advocates and safeguards to make sure that students of all experiences and backgrounds are supported in the most appropriate way, the way that they need it, as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. For safety and wellness, we know that a sense of belonging is essential for emotional safety and wellness. We approach this through multiple prongs, and you can see these prongs are a combination of programs as well as input and feedback opportunities that directly inform program design. For operational excellence, again, stakeholder engagement is a critical component of continuous improvement. And with that, we use that feedback to design the professional learning we provide and shape the programs that we support students through. And for operational excellence, you don't have to go back. The quote that comes to mind for me is, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts," of course, by Aristotle. That's really how we view our work. How do we collectively contribute and make something bigger than any one of us? New this year, expanded program support for English language development. For a few years now, we've had 2 English language development coordinators at Eagle Ridge Middle School, and the impetus was that we had such a large number of identified EL students, as well as those who are dually identified as a student with a disability, where one person was unable to fully and effectively provide the supports to the students, as well as staff-wide support and understanding how to differentiate for our ELs. So that was the beginning of a really exciting trend, because this year we've added an additional person at Cuesta as well, and most recently at Rio Rancho High School. Also this year, we expanded our translation and interpretation services as the needs continue to grow within our community. Our primary responsibility is to make sure that our parents and guardians have full access to any information provided by the district to ensure that language is not a barrier, but we're also seeing increased needs in our staff in various places that have some language barriers also that we mitigate through our office. So we've expanded supports there, and some specific ways we've done so is by increasing awareness of the supports that we provide across the system, making sure that we have that training and visibility so that all frontline office staff are aware of our services, and teachers too, to make it super accessible to our staff to connect parents to the information in the language they prefer. And also just making the process easier for everybody. And that really came about throughout the pandemic. Digitizing the whole process was such a blessing that the pandemic pushed us to do. And Equity Council, new for that group this year. We are in our 3rd year. We are getting ready to launch a webpage to better capture and communicate the work that's happened as we get ready for a new cycle of applications. So excited to do that. And the council has been wanting to incorporate more voice, particularly student voice. So we are in the heart of developing a student listening tour, specifically for the students named in the lawsuit, to get their experiences around that common idea of sense of belonging So we've crafted some questions to ask our students. In what places or spaces do you feel like you belong most? Are there any adults here at the school that have helped you feel that way? And what are some of the behaviors or characteristics that adult has fostered to create that sense of belonging? So we're excited to launch that listening tour through what we're calling Elevating Student Voice. And Native American programs, lots of new parts to that work this year. For a few years now, our Native American Student Advisory Committee has wanted to launch some sort of a student-to-student mentorship program. And underpinning that is the desire to connect our students to one another. Since we are a fairly large district and our students are dispersed throughout the district, we have a significant number of Native American students, though because they're spread out, it's harder to be able to connect them regularly. So we've been grappling with this idea and how to make it come to life. And we are excited now to be able to launch it, hopefully in January 2023. It will essentially be like a Native American student club at the district level. And students have provided a lot of really great input and ideas into how that will look. So we're almost there to launching that. Also over the summer, we expanded on our partnerships with the Pueblo of Santa Ana. For several years, we've had an MOA with them for a homeschool liaison program where their Department of Education has a liaison that partners with our schools. And it's an additional adult to help support our shared students that are Rio Rancho students, which has been of great benefit. And then new that we're excited to launch again in January 2023 is a Keres language program, specifically for students from Pueblo Santa Ana, again belonging to our district, teaching them the Keres language. We're excited about that. And the third agreement is credit recovery opportunities for high school students from this Pueblo Santa Ana. Again, how do we consolidate our resources between both entities to make programs more accessible for our shared students? We received a new grant, Indian Education Initiative, that is helping to fund a CTE coordinator. And that person has already begun her job and is doing a dynamo job, making sure that the program is visible to students. There's a lot of understanding about what the program is and helping to link students to that program at the new CTE school. And also one more new thing in Native American programs with inflation and rising costs, and a lot of different stories and anecdotes that we've heard from our Native American community. Finances are a large burden that's impacting all aspects of everyone's life, really. But to help offset that, we've increased our reimbursement program and doubled it. And that has been very well received within our community and has helped out more than double the number of students in our community. Next slide, highlights. I won't read all of this, but you do have the slides. Just going back to the summertime, we were excited to bring back elementary summer school in person. It's been a virtual program for the last few years. We were excited to have this in person consolidated at one site. We held it at Cielo Azul Elementary. This program provides structured and intensive instruction in ELA and math. And there in the little speech bubbles, I have a testimonial from a teacher and a parent, just so you can see the experience through their eyes. Next slide. More highlights. Sometimes pictures do the best job of telling a story. This picture was from our last Native American pageant. All of our judges and contestants. Next slide is from our powwow for the first time in person after that stage of the pandemic, and we held it outdoors. And you can see what a beautiful, very special event it was. And the community was super grateful that we were able to have that gathering once again. And we'll have it once again in person. But I will say it's going to be indoor because the weather is unpredictable.
Yes.
It's just much.
We keep learning that.
We keep learning that. It surprises us every year. I don't know. And next slide, Summer Academy. And there is a video. It doesn't look like it popped up here. But maybe if you have the slide deck on your own time, you can click on the video. It was just a really short 1-minute video of one of the guest presenters that came during Native American Summer Academy. He's a well-respected community healer who came all the way from Phoenix to do a half-day presentation, and he created a drum making demonstration for our students, and taught the students how to drum, and also taught them how to do a friendship dance, and shared the significance and meaning and healing aspect of all of those components. Next slide, more highlights. Oh, there's the video. Showed up a little bit delayed. That's okay though. New Mexico State Seal of Bilingualism by Literacy. The board first adopted this into our district in 2017, and since then, we've graduated 117 students from our district with this State Seal of Bilingualism by Literacy in Chinese, German, Spanish, Italian, and French. Our English language development program is next, and on this slide, you see the exit rate data since 2019. The state data is not always available, and perhaps sometimes not reliable because of the number of students that were tested across the state for many reasons, especially during the pandemic. But whenever it is available, we're always exceeding the state's exit rate. And that's only one part of it. The biggest part is the amount of English language proficiency growth. And we look at that over the course of time for our students, of course. 2022 has an asterisk because the windows between 2021 and 22 were only 4 months apart. So I don't want that drop in percentage rate to alarm you, because that was to be expected since there was such a short amount of time. And that was because that window was extended because of the pandemic. So it pushed the typically January to March window all the way into the fall semester of the following year. So it kind of threw it off a little bit. Next, annual community engagement events. You saw some pictures on the previous slides already, but I listed all of our major district-wide events here on this slide. Our annual powwow held in April, strategically a week before the Gathering of Nations powwow. Our Spanish spelling bee, Native American pageant, coming up on November 17th. And this year we're expanding that to include elementary students as well. Native American Senior Recognition. We used to have an event called a multicultural event. It wasn't a super wonderful name, but we are rebranding that this year and calling it Celebrating Who We Are. And then Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead event this year on November 2nd at Eagle Ridge Middle School. Invitations to you all. Oh, I'm sorry, November 1st. Thank you, Claudia. And Claudia has been such a huge help in, yes, oh, yes, thank you. Challenges. Our challenges continue. And I won't focus on this because I truly believe that these challenges are opportunities. And they bring these opportunities to help us think about, the next slide, please, Claudia, how to broaden our reach to deepen collective understanding of culturally and linguistically responsive practices across our system. We know time will always be a challenge. We know money will always be a challenge, but what are we going to do with that? How can we think about it differently and access, provide different access points for different people within whatever it is that we have to work with? So that leads me to the very last slide as we plan for the future. And the quote that most resonates with me and everything that I've shared with you is here. Changes call for innovation, and innovation leads to progress. I stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you so much for that. You always do such a great job, so we appreciate it. Dr. Cleveland, do you have any comments before we go into questions?
No, just thank you for the report. And you know, we've said it many times, but I think a lot of times people don't realize how diverse our district is. So we have a very diverse district. And sometimes that presents challenges, but more importantly, it presents opportunities for us to learn and grow and benefit. And said in some of the Native American events, and I thought, many people never in this country ever have a chance to do that. Never have a chance to hear that music, never have a chance to hear those stories. And so and certainly of all our cultures. But I really truly believe that we celebrate that uniqueness and that enriches us all. And so, it's just wonderful to see these events, and we all learn from them. And thank you for your hard work. And truly, when we talk to folks from our Native American community or from some of our others, they are always so complimentary of Suzanne's work. She just makes that effort to reach out and to be as helpful and to supportive as she can be. And yet, one of the things that's the strength is that it still has this very high expectations that we'll provide a high quality program with high quality expectations. So I just want to thank you for the report. We are a very diverse district, and that's a strength.
I have a quick question. So with all the turmoil and such that's been happening, in Afghanistan and, with Russia and Ukraine, are we seeing any of changes in our district from that? Have we been having students come from those areas of the world?
Yes, we are. We are seeing them in a faster rate than we ever have before. Yes.
How have we been able to support them? Are there things that we've been doing that is different, or I just out of curiosity.
Not so much different, but it really validated the practices that we have put
good.
in place
Mm-hmm.
and strengthened morale even because of that validation. And we've used it as a leverage point to help bring awareness across campuses for people that don't necessarily work with the linguistically diverse students on a day-to-day basis like our ELD coordinators do. So there's just generally greater appreciation across the board for one, culturally and linguistically diverse people in general, but two, also the common best practices that we're always trying to make sure that people understand and practice. People are seeing why it's so important and why it's so effective.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, Gary Tripp, any questions or comments?
I know that Suzanne goes to the governor's council meeting, and I don't know how many people are aware of that, because I was blessed to go to 2 of them with her. But the governors, I don't know how many Pueblo governors there are, about 27 in our state. They share the needs of their children all day long, and I've witnessed her listening to them for 8 hours maybe before they take a break. And I see some of the fruition that's come to light with these programs, and then I've seen it expand, and like with the Equity Council and so forth. So it's just a compliment to you and your program and the people you brought together to see what amazing things we're doing. It's my question is, Caris with the Santa Ana Pueblo, is it written or just oral?
They have developed a written form.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Through their education department. And that was something that the tribal council about 15, 20 years ago ordered to ensure preservation of their language.
That's great. Great work. Thank you. Keep it up.
Thanks. Jeff Morgan.
I have a question. Amanda alluded to some of the other individuals from the war that's going on that's coming over here. So how many languages is it now that you work? I see on slide 12, I think it is, 13, where these are the state languages, but how many do we have that we work with in our district?
We currently have over 25 languages represented within our school district.
Okay. All right. The other one
Self-reported. So there's likely additional languages not captured.
Okay, that's the reason why I was asking. And I noticed throughout your presentation, I saw a lot of emphasis on Native Americans. Is there any emphasis on some of the other languages that I don't see some of the, like she mentioned Ukraine? Is there activities that we do around that, or is it too early for that? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Some other activities for some of the other languages, yeah.
Most of those activities are grounded around our English language development program.
Oh, okay.
Don't let the name fool you. It's not just about teaching our students academic English. We do that through fostering their home language and culture.
Oh, okay. All right. Can I?
Anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple more I want to ask.
you're good.
Well, it's not necessarily a question. I like the you called it the listening tour. Is that what it's called? And I really like that, and I also like that student to student mentorship. What was the purpose behind that?
The student-to-student mentorship
Yeah.
was connecting our students across the district, our Native American students across the district, to one another, so that they can, normally before this, they would only get to officially see each other in a structured setting through the district during Native American Summer Academy, which is a 2-week program in July. They wanted to see each other more frequently throughout the year. And the parents wanted to tap into the other students of different ages so that they could learn from one another in a peer model type of structure as opposed to adult to student structure. And then for the student listening tour, it was to elevate student voice, to get their experiences as the most important data to inform the Equity Council around their understanding of the district and how to provide good informed feedback to the district. And they didn't want to do that without student voice.
So that student to student mentorship program, you gave an illustration of Native Americans mentoring one another. How about other nationalities mentoring another nationality group, like maybe a Ukraine mentoring a Native American? I mean, has that been thought about as well? I guess what I'm trying to, we got a great melting pot here, and I just want to know, are they intermingling with one another instead of just themselves? That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yes, and that's part of the reason that we not just renamed, but the whole idea of rebranding, not just a single event. So I'll go into what we're doing throughout the year for our multicultural event that we're now calling Celebrating Who We Are, because we know that who we are, our identity is so much deeper than culture as you might think of it, and it's deeper than language too. There's so many intricacies into what makes us each individuals. Day to day, again, back to the ELD programs, our students are always students first. They belong to their general classroom, homeroom classroom, and then all of the other classrooms too. The ELD program is an additional supplemental layer to that. And the students are, of course, connected to one another through that setting, but also across campuses as well. So sometimes we have field trips where the older students especially like to go and read or spend time with the younger students. So different opportunities for our students to connect cross campus, cross grades in that way as part of our regular instruction. So not a standalone club, but embedded into the instruction and program that we provide.
Okay, all right, that's it.
Yeah, I would just add one thing. You know, it's kind of interesting in our state, and Suzanne could correct me if I'm not right with any of this, but we have really kind of two structures. One is for the languages that are pretty much native to our state and large numbers. We have like almost 2,000 kids who claim Native heritage. So they're larger in numbers, and of course bilingual. We have a lot of students in this who are bilingual in Spanish. And so you can have a little different kind of program, but even right now, believe it or not, we're struggling to find teachers of Spanish in this state. We can't find people to teach Spanish in New Mexico. I can't figure that out. But the state also recognized that we do have a lot of kids from other places in smaller numbers. But you can't necessarily run the same kind of program because you don't have the resources or even the personnel. And I can give you an example. Several years ago, and he was the most wonderful gentleman, but he came into my office. He worked with Carl, I think, as well, and he was Taiwanese and very fluent in several languages. But he needed a translator and to help his student. And so we found one. We were so lucky. We thought, boy, we found one. And he came back a couple of days later and he smiled and he said, "Thank you so much for the effort, but this person has an accent. And I don't want my child learning with an accent." So then we went back to the drawing board again to find someone that didn't have an accent, but he was determined his child would learn English without an accent. And the only folks that we could find that could translate had an accent. So it's for the smaller groups, it's hard. Like you mentioned Ukraine and some other areas. There's a separate structure for teaching English as a second language. And it's not as comprehensive as you would have for the native New Mexico languages, just because the numbers aren't there, but struggling to find really high quality staff to be able to work with our students. So it is a challenge. Several years ago, we had a very large community, fairly large community of Laotian. And finding the support for them was a challenge. There's really kind of two structures in New Mexico that run side by side. And one is the bilingual and native languages, and then the other are those smaller numbers of kids. And they do present a challenge, but we have to find a way, to serve them. And sometimes over the years, we have had some really good luck. We go to the universities, look for students there who might be willing to work. Over the years, we've had some good luck with spouses of folks at Intel who spoke other languages that were willing to help. So but finding foreign language teachers right now is very hard. I find very hard to do. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Lauren, Scott, any questions?
No, I have no questions. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jessica Tyler, any questions? Oh, my actually can't. Jessica Tyler, any questions?
No, thank you, Suzanne, for a great presentation. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. Okay. We'll now go to approve the consent. Any questions on the consent?
Board Member Gary Tripp, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Board Member Noreen Scott, I second.
Okay. We have a motion by Gary Tripp and a second by Noreen Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move into our business portion. I'd like to just invite Melanie Archbeck, our Executive Director of Facilities, to come up. So we'll go ahead and do these as a group. Melanie, is that good? Right? Okay, so we're going to look at a second reading for Policy 508, Materials and Equipment, Policy 505 for Building Plans and Warranties, Policy 502, Educational Specifications for School Facilities, and Policy 501 to use of pesticides. So these are all our second readings. Go ahead, Melanie.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, Madam President Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. At the last board session, we kind of went over this. They're pretty minor in terms of grammatical corrections. I don't have anything to present other. Okay.
I know, I'm like, there's not a whole lot on there. So any questions from the board on this, on these policies? Probably as we do the motion, we'll read each policy out for approval. That makes sense. Yeah. So whoever wants to take that on.
Should we just?
Go ahead, Jessica. It sounds like.
I can do it as long as you guys can hear me okay on the audio.
We can hear you great. You're great.
It's just 4 though. It's not the 5th one.
No. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion, Madam President, to approve the second reading for the proposed changes to Policy 508, Materials and Equipment, Policy 505, Building Plans and Warranties, Policy 502, Educational Specifications for School Facilities, and Policy 501, Use of Pesticides.
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Jeff Morgan. I'm writing my notes in weird. Can you take a roll call vote for us on these, Lori? Thank you.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Secretary Scott?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Tyler?
Yes.
President Galbraith?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Our motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you. Okay, and then for our last item is to consider the approval of ITB 2023-007-FAC Fire Protection, and Michael Madrid, our Purchasing Director, and also Melanie Archbeck, our Executive Director, will present.
Thank you, Board President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. As Dr. Cleveland mentioned in opening comments, this procurement encompasses a significant variety of tasks The price agreement that will be established from this solicitation is for fire device inspections, alarm monitoring, fire alarm initial setups, hourly rates for service technicians, and hood cleaning services. With response to the solicitation, the district received 8 bids. Responses were received from ApeCon Technologies out of Albuquerque, ADT Commercial LLC out of Albuquerque, American Fire Protection Group Incorporated out of Albuquerque, Great Western Specialty Systems out of Albuquerque, Johnson Controls out of Albuquerque, Kaufman's Fire Protection Systems Incorporated out of Albuquerque, Weiser Electric LLC out of Rio Rancho, and Zia Compliance LLC. In order to come up with a recommendation to the board, since this is an ITB, we had to vet responsiveness. The criteria for the board and for us to present to the board is lowest responsive bid. So if you look at the pricing matrix that I attached to this, you'll see that Johnson Controls was the low, but they didn't provide us a price for the hood cleaning services that was required as part of the scope of work. So what we did is Mr. Chris Greeno, our facilities director, and myself, we invited folks from ADT Commercial to come down and sit with us, and we wanted to make sure, did you really understand all the scopes that were required within the solicitation? Do you understand the district's processes? Was the pricing that you provided us correct? And so they gave us a breakout of the different categories of work, and we collectively came to an agreement that yes, they did understand the entire scope that we identified and that the pricing was in fact correct. So the recommendation that I will request of the board is to issue an award to the lowest responsive bidder, ADT Commercial, and that's as referenced in the requested action. And I stand for any questions.
Any questions from the board?
One question.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike, did you find that the meetings you had with the local businesses was helpful when you're putting these bids out? You're finding that more businesses came to the table?
So you're talking the follow-up that we had at the last meeting?
Yeah.
For Ms. Scott, if I can just re-echo the information that was provided. I've been asked to present, and I presented to the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, identifying how to do business with the district. Where do they find information? Who's the points of contact? How can they solicit assistance with navigating our electronic bidding processes? I attended the New Mexico ASBO conference, and there was vendors booths set up all over the place. And I physically met with each of the vendors, passing up my information to them and inviting them to come out and do a one-on-one vendor debriefing. Staff attended the UNM vendor fair, and we had a booth out there representing Rio Rancho Public Schools, and staff provided them information on what's typical procurements that we put out, what are some of the requirements that we have for the different procurement methods, and contact information if they want to schedule a virtual one-on-one vendor debriefing. On November the 1st, I'll be presenting to the New Mexico Minority Business Association. Kind of the same scenario. We'll be explaining how to navigate our electronic bidding process, how to find information on the district's webpage, and really assisting them on, if it's an ITB, what are the requirements, but the more technical requirements on the RFP, how do they populate their information, and how do they get comfortable with how the district requires information to be presented to us. And then the last thing that we just did, we presented at the New Mexico Public Procurement Association, which was just last week. We had vendors that were participation there as well. The same scenario, we met with each one of them, inviting them to contact. Even some of the vendors, I'm going to point out American Fire Protection. They knew that they weren't going to be successful on this recommendation, but I have a vendor briefing scheduled with those folks tomorrow to see how we can improve the information that they provide the district. So we're trying to reach out to those folks and trying to make it a little more transparent as the information that we're providing.
I really appreciate the outreach, and I wonder if I could ask you to make an offer to the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber of Commerce to hold the same kind of workshop that would help Rio Rancho vendors have an opportunity to bid on projects here at the school district.
I definitely will, Secretary Scott. I do want to also emphasize that part of our association is just not Rio Rancho. There's other entities. There's cities, counties, states, higher education. And what we do is we try collectively reaching out as a procurement entity, trying to help the vendors and help us to cast a wider net and help those vendors be successful.
I understand that. I just think that we often go to Rio Rancho businesses and ask them for support for our athletics and for many other things. And it would be good if we did that outreach that showed them that they might have an opportunity to also benefit from some of our spending.
Definitely will. I do want to just mention that at the New Mexico Minority Business Conference that we'll be presenting on November the 1st, the city of Rio Rancho is also presenting at that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Cleveland, anything?
Just a question. There was a lot of there was a lot of differences in terms of the bids. Do you see anything, that might have accounted for that? I mean, usually sometimes they're closer bids, and this time they really weren't all that close.
That's a very good question. Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. So what happens when you have such a diverse scope of work? These folks can't perform the services in-house. So they have to reach out for subcontractors and other folks, and then they have to mark up those services so they can make a profit from the solicitation. Typically, we don't have quite a diverse scope of work, but as I just read, there's several components to this price agreement.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. With that, if someone would like to make a motion on this.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion for the approval of ITB 2023-007-FAC fire protection.
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I'll second.
Really quick, we probably should add, can we amend the motion
sorry.
to add ADT Commercial
That is
LLC?
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I need to go back and clean that up?
I'll just say
I don't mind.
we'll amend the motion to have ADT Commercial LLC.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's good. You're good. And we have a second. So we have a motion by Jeff Morgan and then a second by Noreen Scott, right? And then if you'll take a roll call vote for us. You're good.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Secretary Scott?
Yes.
Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Tyler?
Yes.
President Galbraith?
Yes. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to add what a really good professional job Michael and his folks do. And they move things very quickly for us. And I just want him to know how much we appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. You do a great job. Appreciate it. Okay, so we'll move into our advanced planning. So we have upcoming this Friday night, we have the Rio Rancho High School, Cleveland High School football game, 7 o'clock at Cleveland High School. So I hope you're all there. I need to get out and go to. November 8th, it will be election day, so it'll be a virtual learning day for all of our students. November 11th will be Veterans Day. It's going to make it a really weird week. But November 11th is our Veterans Day, which we're so grateful that we have the opportunity to celebrate our veterans. So all of our schools will be closed. On November 14th, we have a Finance Committee meeting at 4:30. Also on the 14th will be our board meeting. The 21st through the 22nd will be elementary conferences, so there'll be no school for elementary students. And then we have Thanksgiving break, the 23rd and the 25th. The 1st through the 3rd is the annual conference, the NMSBA. If you'll look at the stuff on your desk, there's a, they gave us a little agenda. Thank you. Words escape me at 8 o'clock, but yes, there's an agenda. So if you want to attend that, we just need to let, I'm not sure when Kim's going to get back. So okay. 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 So we'll let Lori know. Who should we let know if we're attending the conference? Is that work? Okay. Okay. So let Lori know if you're planning to attend that conference, take a look at that. And then we have our next board meeting after that on the 12th of December. So with that, our meeting, yes.
Just one.
Executive session.
I know, yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
So I was just going to ask if maybe Lori can send out the Dia de los Muertos and the Native American celebration on our advanced planning. But that way we'll have the email in order to send back if we're going to the school board conference.
Right, because I was just going to ask the same thing.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Our meeting for tonight's adjourned. And if the board would please go into executive session. Jeff, I need you to sign.
Yeah, that's my plug. Yeah, plugged in. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, Jeff, please sign this one. Right.